Nightcast. Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth brings you the current news from the world today and how it relates to Bible prophecy. Understanding the end-time events leading to the peaceful world tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth.
Good evening, friends, and welcome to this April 7, 2015 edition of Nightcast. As we open tonight, fierce fighting is continuing around the port city of Aden in Yemen, where a coalition of forces led by Saudi Arabia is trying to stop the advance of Houthi rebel forces. The fighting has gotten worse over the last few weeks, with more than 500 people killed, including at least 70 children. The Red Cross has warned there is war on every street. Mike Wooldridge reports.
Since fighting intensified in Yemen nearly 2 weeks ago, the plight of civilians caught up in it is becoming increasingly dire, especially here in the main southern city and port of Aden. An official of the International Red Cross said today that the war in Aden is on every street, every corner, and the humanitarian situation catastrophic, to say the least. The Red Cross has appealed for an immediate truce to facilitate aid deliveries, and it's trying to deploy surgeons to Aden, but still waiting for authorization from the opposing sides.
We are all scared, we keep praying every day that our family and friends, they are safe. They don't care. You are civilian, you are women, you are a child. They will just kill you and shoot you if they find you.
From other Yemeni ports mostly, increasing numbers of foreign nationals living and working in Yemen are managing to make their escape. This Indian warship brought some of the latest evacuees into Djibouti on the nearby northeast coast of Africa. Most of them Indian nationals who've been trapped by the fighting. A coalition led by Saudi Arabia, the main Sunni power in the region, has been carrying out airstrikes in an attempt to halt the expanding rebellion across Yemen by Shiite Houthi fighters from the north. Iran has strongly criticised the Saudi intervention while rejecting accusations that it has armed the Houthis.
What has been achieved is that the Saudis have managed to take out some military installations, army bases, planes, weapons that they feel the Houthis could have used. But at what cost?
As evacuations from Yemen gather momentum now, echoes of 1986, when the Royal Yacht Britannia rescued Britons and other foreign nationals from the beaches of Aden during another deadly bout of civil war. I witnessed their arrival in Djibouti.
As the power struggle and the fighting intensified, the Russians tried to mediate between the government and the rebels, but the negotiations broke down. It was the signal for this unprecedented international evacuation to get underway.
Then and again now, a deepening crisis in Aden throwing the spotlight on one of the most strategic political and economic crossroads in the world. Mike Wooldridge, BBC News.
And friends, this opening story and the next story relate to the second seal from the book of Revelation, the second seal being depicted as a red horse that Jesus Christ described in plain language in the Gospels of Matthew 24, Mark 13, Luke 21, as war and rumors of war and world war, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. And in the story, militants who kidnapped 31 people from a bus in Afghanistan in February have released a video showing one of the hostages being beheaded. In the video, two masked gunmen speak to a man kneeling in front of them. After killing him, the gunmen say they will kill others they are holding if the government does not agree to their demands. The demands are unspecified. They identify themselves as belonging to the Islamic movement of Uzbekistan, who are allied to the Taliban. There had been speculation that the hostages, mostly from the Hazara ethnic minority, had been seized by Islamic State as they traveled from Iran to Kabul through Zabul province. The Islamic movement of Uzbekistan, IMU, was formed in the late 1990s and said it carried out the attack on Karachi Airport in June 2014. The BBC's David Loyne in Kabul says this is the first time they have issued a video showing a beheading. In the footage, the gunmen ask the hostage, just that one hostage who they beheaded, what his job is, and he says that he is a soldier. Local news agencies report that the kidnappers want their comrades released from Afghan jails. Along with other Taliban factions, the IMU was pushed out of its former stronghold in Pakistan's North Waziristan tribal region in an army offensive launched after the Karachi airport assault. Unlike in Pakistan, Afghan Hazaras, who are mostly Shia Muslims, have been largely spared attacks by Sunni militants operating in both countries. And friends, for our final story tonight, we've got one that, I do have a map to just show you the area where we were just talking about. You can see on this map Afghanistan. You can see Kabul over on the east side, a little bit to the north, and you see Iran to the west of that. And you see, we mentioned Zabul. You'll see it down on the eastern side of the country, a little bit south of Kabul anyway. And our last story tonight, friends, we're just doing a short report this evening, but I end with one that is rather tragic for the United States. A police officer has been arrested over the shooting and killing of an unarmed black man. The caption, we do have video. Officials said the police officer Michael Slager was charged after footage emerged which appeared to show the shooting. Let's go to video on this.
It was stemmed from a traffic stop. Police said that he was pulled over for a traffic stop with a broken taillight. And at that point, according to the officer, the man, Walter Scott, had gotten out of his vehicle. They had scuffled. He reported that he had taken his stun gun or his taser and took off and ran. And it was at this point that the officer drew his service weapon and fired, hitting the man, Walter Scott, and I believe hit him twice. And he was pronounced dead at the scene.
Do we know the details of the footage that has emerged and whether or not that corroborates the story that the two men were involved in some kind of scuffle before the black man who was initially pulled over for broken tail lights then fled the area?
The video picks up as the two men are basically coming apart. It doesn't show any confrontation between the two. It doesn't show anything beforehand. This video was taken by a gentleman who was literally walking down the street, saw the confrontation, started to record the confrontation, but it literally was of Mr. Scott, the victim, pushing away and then running. The police department could not say for sure whether they know that he was tased, the taser was used on him one time. On the video, and I'm just telling you what I saw and what the police department talked about, is that it appears that the suspect went back and picked up his taser, went back to where the victim was lying, and dropped the taser near him. And then a few more minutes into the video, another police officer shows up on the scene. The man is actually handcuffed as he is laying in the grass. And then you can see the suspect taking a pulse, checking to see if he is still alive.
This murder charge then against this police officer comes at a time, of course, of immense tension over the deadly use of force by US police officers against black men. What has this done in terms of how people are reacting to this incident in Charleston, where you are now?
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, it's been just 3.5 hours since this information has become available. It's been 3.5 hours since the video was released. A couple of community leaders, members of the church, have asked for the community to remain calm. They said they were in contact with the family. The family said to honor Walter Scott's memory by remaining calm, that if there's to be protests, to make them peaceful and without violence.
And friends, the police officer was a South Carolina police officer who's been charged with murder over the shooting death of the black man who appeared to be fleeing from state investigators, who appeared to be fleeing from the police officer. State investigators arrested North Charleston police officer Michael Slager earlier today after viewing a video of the shooting. Authorities say the victim, Walter Lamer Scott, was shot after the officer already hit him with a stun gun, as you heard in this video report. The U.S. Department of Justice is set to launch an investigation. I have a quote from a judge who said, "When you're wrong, you're wrong." Not a judge, that was the mayor. North Charleston Mayor Keith Sumay said, announcing the arrest. He further said, "When you make a bad decision, don't care if you're behind the shield or a citizen on the street, you have to live with that decision." The incident on Saturday began after Scott's car was stopped for having a broken rear light, local media reported. A video of the incident published by the New York Times shows the brief scuttle begins running away. The video then shows the officer firing several shots at Scott, who falls to the ground. And this is a photograph here in this next picture. This is a photograph of North Charleston police officer Michael Slager, who was arrested today. The Post and Courier newspaper of Charleston reported that Scott had been arrested about 10 times, mostly for failing to pay child support or show up for court hearings. Scott's brother, Anthony, told the Post and Courier that he believed his brother fled from Mr. Slager because he owed child support. The shooting occurred as heightened scrutiny is being placed on police officers' shootings. Friends, that's it for our short report for tonight here on Nightcast. This Tuesday night, God willing, and the creek don't rise, we'll be back again with a regular program tomorrow night, Wednesday night. This is your host, Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth, saying so long and good night, friends.
You have been watching Nightcast with Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth. Nightcast can be seen Sunday through Thursday nights here on COGTV.org. Tonight's program is also available anytime on demand in the COGTV.org video archive.